recognize the value and the heritage of faith that their mom and grandmother has left for this family. Our conversation was about faith, also about our desire to see her family walk in the path of the Lord, especially her husband. As a woman of quiet strength, she had presence without much fanfare. She was presented with much grace in the midst of personal suffering and challenges. She was a fighter. Her children will testify of her fortitude and her strength. And so as she enjoyed the blessings of life, she shared that, not only with her family, but with her community. Very quiet, very reassuring, yet deliberate and poised. Sense of humor also. She knew how to connect.
Thank you for stopping by and welcome to Marie at the Ketchum House. There's so much more to share. Sylvia, the amazing woman who gave us the gift of the one and only Ketchum House, is the focus of today's video. It's her story, from her early beginnings through all the adventures in her life. So please subscribe to enjoy the videos as soon as they're posted so you can continue to enjoy the story of Sylvia, her legacy, and all the history associated with the historic Ketchum House and Hollis, New York. Remember to share these hidden treasures far and wide with your family and friends and with your community by clicking on the share button below. And of course, I welcome all your feedback, so please don't hesitate to post your comments below. Your comments, questions, or even a howdy do, all are very welcomed. Have you been checking out the amazing scenery in the background? Looks like a typical white sand beach in the Caribbean, but no. That's Diani Beach, also known as Pirate Beach, south of Mombasa, Kenya. Footage compliments of Kenyan YouTuber Only Mawida. So very cool to see a totally different side of Africa. Families enjoying time at the beach, and ooh, something you will not likely see in the Caribbean, camels on the beach. Just look at the scenery, this footage, phenomenal. For more, check out Mawida's adventures at his YouTube channel, Only Mawida. So cool. So join me now as I explore Sylvia's story, and as usual, with some highlights from world history. Enjoy! My mother Sylvia comes from a place that is also renowned for its miles and miles and miles of beautiful beaches. A place that is set apart because it has a variety of beach types, and cool special features such as a waterfall that flows into the beach, or a freshwater river that complements the Caribbean Sea.
Frenchman's Cove is this gorgeous lagoon, but the awesome thing about this beach is not only the beach itself, but this part here. You see, right by the beach there is a river with crystal clear fresh water.
My mother Sylvia's country of origin is Jamaica, West Indies, the third largest island in the Greater Antilles in the Caribbean Sea. The land of wood and water, as it was first known by its original settlers, the Arawak. A marvelous country that appears as a mere speck on the globe that has played a tremendous role in molding my mother Sylvia into the outstanding woman she turned out to be. By the way, many Jamaicans, such as yours truly, grew up hearing that Jamaica was first inhabited by the Arawak. As it turns out, today we celebrate the actual settlers to have been the Taino or Taino, a specific branch of the Arawak that migrated from South America and settled in the Greater Antilles of the Caribbean. This reputedly peace-loving indigenous people were said to have been extinct. However, DNA study and family traditions now reveal that the bloodline and the culture have survived all over the Caribbean.
My grandmother's sister started a troop known as the Traditional Indians.
Far from extinct, the Taino presence is now being felt in the traditions, practices, and faces of contemporary Jamaica, especially in the parishes of St. Elizabeth and Manchester, parishes of Sylvia's ancestry.
In 2019, Jamaica got its first Taino chief in over 500 years. Chief Kaike Kalan, and with him is Chieftess Ronaldo. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Usalukali, as we say.
Yes,
good morning.
Yes. Many of us in school, one of the things we're taught is that the Taino is extinct.
There has been a resurgence throughout the Caribbean as the technology advanced that made it capable for community members that held these oral traditions, because throughout the island of Jamaica, there are people that were saying that you're Indian, that they said that separately from Indian. My great-grandfather acknowledged his indigenous ancestry. You know, he used one of the terms that I later on learned from other relatives, which was, they call it Maroon Coolie or Inji, right? And that was one of the ways that they identified themselves.
Sylvia's character and outlook on the world were fundamentally shaped by this outstanding nation and its culture.
On the Caribbean Sea, that's given more than its
Those Jamaicans who have done DNA research might want to double check to see if there's a percentage of indigenous genes you might have descended directly from the Arawak Indians. And I tell you, you can see the pride in the indigenous heritage represented in our national coat of arms, originally crafted in the mid-1600s.
And as other nations began to settle on the island, we became a country of mixed race, which led us to accept our revised motto, out of many, one people.
With the national motto, out of many, one people, Jamaica is a place that welcomes and integrates the whole world into its outstanding identity.
Did you know that modern Jamaicans have DNA from 4 continents? The island's history took an incredible turn in the 1850s. That's when ships from southern China brought Hakka people to Jamaica's shores, forever changing the island's genetic landscape. They were the architects of a unique genetic blueprint that makes Jamaicans different from any other population in the Americas. But the story doesn't stop there. Indian and German immigrants also added their mark, creating a rich tapestry of identities that you won't find anywhere else in the world. This isn't just history, it's a celebration of Jamaica's incredible diversity, from its people to its food, music, and culture.
My grandmother, if you're ever sick, you get herb tea.
Where are you from?
Matilda.
Where you live?
Well, you go straight down, and after you go down, you see the front, where the butcher stops, and you just turn around. Here is seafood town.
This is seafood town. Where you get into the other you seafood? When you go out Canada, and you tell us you're from Jamaica, and it's that people come from Jamaica.
We're not trying.
When the revolution happened,
sorry.
Right?
Next time.
Yes, I'm Jamaican. Well, if people don't believe me, them don't believe I come from Jamaica because I'm Chinese. But what a lot of American people don't know is that well, if Chinese people come from Jamaica, well, if them all over the place.
Perhaps this is why many Jamaicans stand out in their contributions throughout the globe.
My God, the #1 person in science, Jamaica. The #1 person in health and well-being, Jamaican. The #1 person working on the next ship going to Mars, Jamaican. And it's like we just become the best at whatever we do.
Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer, Jimmy Cliff, Peter Tosh, Desmond Decker, Shabba Ranks. It doesn't stop and it all comes together in a sweet Jamaican patois.
And then there was the Honorable Dr. Louise Bennett Coverley, Miss Lou, a highly esteemed and beloved folklorist, entertainer, and poet laureate of Jamaica, who celebrated and educated us about our African roots, imbuing unshakable pride in our native patois and cultural heritage.
The rain is falling, but the
If
ground
you
is
can
hot. And dirty is not just a corruption of the word dirty. It's a real African word, D-O-T, dirty, which means the ground. Dirty tough.
Miss Lou is a national treasure because she anchored us. She reminded us of our unique and special identity and built fierce national pride in Jamaicans, just like my mother Sylvia, who, though she came from one of the most remote corners of Jamaica, from very humble circumstances, she was no doubt blessed with the amazing strength, adaptability, and cleverness of her maroon ancestors, and the special openness to diversity built into her mixed ancestry. Sylvia's lust for knowledge, growth, and adventure propelled her to escape the suffocation of her humble beginnings and opened her up to exploration of the world through formal education and widespread travel all around the globe. Sylvia's is an amazing story of a very special lady planted in a garden of debilitating poverty, who with great fortitude bravely withstood devastation and disappointments that would have made many others give in to the harsher realities of life.
A bird's-eye view of Kingston, the capital of Jamaica. A sun-kissed land of hills and plains, divided by ribbons of silver rivers, tumbling down through verdant valleys. A tropic isle of infinite beauty that rises out of the blue depths of the Caribbean Sea some 90 miles south of Cuba.
For many visitors, Jamaica is the stuff of tropical dreams. Sylvia's Jamaica is far less idyllic. Sylvia was born in the early 1930s into abject poverty in what was literally the deep woods of Jamaica. And when I say the deep woods, I mean the deep woods. My mother Sylvia is from Craighead in the mountainous interior of the island nation of Jamaica. Craighead is deep in the interior of the parish of Manchester, where many Jamaicans never managed to even visit in a lifetime. The area that now constitutes the parish of Manchester remained largely uninhabited until relatively recently. The Spaniards avoided its steep terrain, and when the British arrived, they too considered Manchester to be an unfrequented wilderness that was only suitable for growing coffee and yam. And if you consider that Craighead is near Cockpit country, where Jamaica's famed warriors, the Maroons, settled. These were Africans who escaped slavery and still have descendants who speak African dialect and live in the ways of their forefathers. Sometimes I wonder what it is about Jamaicans that make them stand out in so many ways around the world. And I think it must be the spirit of the Maroons, strong, independent warriors who were an integral part of the building of Jamaica, of the spirit of this tiny but far-reaching island nation, whose blood ran in Sylvia's veins. The Maroons, who are they? What are they?
Spain had claimed Jamaica in the days of Columbus, promptly enslaving the indigenous Taino people. As disease and maltreatment began to kill nearly all of this population, the Spaniards turned increasingly to enslaved Africans. In the chaos of the present invasion, these Africans, roughly 1,500 strong, find themselves free. Spanish stragglers resist the English until about 1660. But the liberated Africans continue to fight from the shadowed woods. The Spanish had called such African and indigenous runaways cimarrones, meaning wild or untamed. The English called them Maroons. After some years of bloodshed, the Maroons retreat at last into the forested mountains, and the English do not follow. It is recorded that the ways of them became utterly unknown to the white people, and so they continued for many years. In the meantime, the Jamaican coasts become the haunts of buccaneers such as Henry Morgan, who murderously plunder Spanish ports and ships. Clergymen decry the Jamaican city of Port Royal as a profane and ungodly haven for pirates and prostitutes. A great wickedness does indeed enter through the southern docks of Jamaica. The foul blight of slavery. And yet it is known by all that in the mountains there live those whose very existence defies this order. Elements of the traditions and tongues of the mother continent are maintained here in a kind of diasporic West African village, and their children are born free. In the west are the Leeward Maroons, under the stern leadership of a man called Cudjoe. The Windward Maroons, themselves oath-sworn in loyalty to Nanny, sense war. The British mobilize large parties against both bands of Maroons and capture several settlements, but many of the slaves made to fight for them defect to the Maroons, who regain Nannytown in a counterattack the following year.
It is understandable that Sylvia grew up steeped in the 19th century practices and traditions of Mother Africa and started out quite cut off from many of the basic amenities of life.
The Maroons occupy sovereign territory in Jamaica, and they operate as a state within a state.
Called the Carcoon Vine. So they used to wrap them body in it and hide in the bushes from the British so they could be able to say it's the first camouflage that ever exists. Like our ancestors are the ones who really created the guerrilla warfare tactics. Queen Nanny, really and truly, she is one of the first African liberators to oppose the British. In that time, the British control like quarter of the earth. So you know they have massive resources and so forth. And a lady, laid a handful of, warriors in the mountains here in Little Jamaica here. And, she was victorious. She's the only female national heroine in Jamaica, so, yeah.
All hail to our national hero, Queen Nanny. Sylvia was also empowered by two very strong women in her life. Sylvia and her younger sister Margaret were greatly cared for by Aunt Clemmy, their mother, and Mama, their maternal grandmother, while her tall, dashing father, who lived at the top of the hill, did little to provide for them. So dire were their circumstances that her mother could only afford to buy her girls one pair of shoes each for church, and in lieu of shoes she bound her own feet in rags and cloths. While doing everything she could to earn her little family's keep, Sylvia's mother suffered from sunstroke and lost her hearing. What the young girl learned from these two strong women gave her wings to fly. Her ambitions seemed to naturally exceed the limitations of her unfortunate circumstances. Sylvia determined very early on that education was very important. She refused to show up at school barefooted, as was the fate of the other children. Each day, she would stop just short of school to put on her precious Sunday shoes, so that she could arrive at school in a manner befitting the education that was so very important to her. It was at this early age that Sylvia discovered the transformative powers of education. She instinctively knew that education would be her ticket out of poverty, that it was a magical key that would open doors to new possibilities for her community and for all the people around her. Sylvia's passion for learning inspired much needed confidence. It gave her the courage she needed when the time came for her to leave her beloved countryside behind. It tempered her behavior, and it was a trusted guide she would always rely on for the rest of her life. When Aunt Clemmy, Sylvia's mother, died at a very young age of 41, just 1 year after Sylvia's grandmother had passed, the two girls were left to fend for themselves at an early age. It was an earnest quest for change and growth that took Sylvia away from the lush but impoverished countryside. It was what took her to town, to the capital city of Kingston, where her life would change forever. Even before the loss of Mama and Aunt Clemmy, Sylvia's courage and strength would be tested again and again by circumstances that would help her to ripen into the resilient and resourceful woman that she would grow up to be. In the 1940s, as Sylvia approached her 14th birthday, natural and man-made disasters created great turmoil on her island home. As World War II broke out, about 1,500 evacuees from Gibraltar at the tip of Spain were housed from 1940 to 1947 at Camp Gibraltar in Kingston. A few hundred European Jewish refugees, as well as prisoners of war, were also interned there. Mother Nature jumped into the melee when swarms of locusts invaded, damaging the food supply. Then there was the 1944 Jamaica hurricane, a deadly hurricane that swept across the Caribbean Sea in August 1944, passing over the full length of Jamaica. The damage was extensive. To date, it had been the worst hurricane since 1903. As a young teen who seemed destined for greater things than could be offered in the impoverished and overburdened countryside, and the great hope for her small family in the deep country, Sylvia was packed up and sent off to live with a family friend and her husband in Kingston. All she wanted me to do was to carry things on my head to Coronation Market. I just couldn't do it, Sylvia recalled. Distraught and heartbroken, Sylvia found herself crying in the middle of the market when a friend plotted to fulfill her heart's desire to return to the country. "James went mad," he said, as he covered up Sylvia in the back of the truck. James, the driver of the market truck, was not pleased to discover the little girl in the back of his truck when he made a pit stop in Colleyville, one of the coldest towns in Manchester. But he gave her an extra blanket and dropped her home. My mother was already 89, and it was the first time I ever heard her refer to the hard times in her youth. As she sighed, "Yes, we go through a whole lot." Sylvia was returned to Kingston, but this time to live with her Aunt Vi and her family, where she was allowed to continue her schooling, but didn't fare that much better in terms of overall treatment. I couldn't help but express my concern that everybody took advantage of her, and to this my mother replied, "Especially when you have no one to back you." It was at this young age that Sylvia developed the critical understanding about connection and support that would make her so invaluable to the people around her. She understood how incredibly important it is to have the people standing close to you, support you, to become what you want to be, to make you feel like you count, to make you feel capable, and to fuel your courage. And this is one of the important things I learned from my mother. To be generous of spirit, to cherish connections made in life, and to be truly supportive of others. A true legacy to be carried on by the generations to come. At the tender age of 16, when she made a delivery from the tiny grocery store that her Aunt Vi ran in Kingston to a small restaurant where he was dining, Sylvia met her future husband, who was 1 year her senior. On his own since the age of 13, when his mother passed away, Jasper had been living with his sister, who had been disabled by polio. Jasper and Sylvia made a formidable team, living in small shared spaces, braving life's challenges and growing together in a deep-rooted partnership, creating new extended family in lifelong friendships, and growing greater bonds through day-to-day adventures such as the memorable stone soup story, as their own little family grew with the birth of their 6 children. Sylvia and Jasper's relationship would run the course of an astounding 72 years.
Amazing! Well done!
Sylvia taught her children to honor their father, as she honored her own father, who had turned his back on her and her sister when they needed him most, by returning to share her family with him and supporting him, by bringing him the gift of modern conveniences that had theretofore bypassed the countryside. And as if responding to the cultural inconsistencies of her time, to the girls, she left a reminder to love a man half as much as he loves you. The song Smiling Through was a song that Sylvia would sing to her children as a lullaby, a song through which she built such strong connection with her girls that they would sing it back to her to soothe her and to remind her she would no longer be alone during her moments of crisis. It was a song they would sing when they got together to seal the bonds that not even death can dissolve. Recognizing that mothers are the heartbeat of hope, the pillars of strength, and the nurturers in our communities who actually shape the world one loving moment at a time, I often wondered how a woman who had essentially lost her parents, her maternal streams of guidance so very early in life, could have become so skilled in the art of motherhood, such a consummate caretaker who made it her priority to lead by example. Sylvia made a concerted effort to instill strong values and virtues in those she had the privilege to care for. She felt that honesty, responsibility, gratitude, kindness, compassion, patience, generosity, integrity, respect, and accountability were important core values to be promoted. At an early age, we were responsible for washing our socks and delicate garments, and as if to put a seal on our cultural heritage, we were all taught to make the all-important script sound, a requirement for clean clothes by Jamaican standards. But little did we know that after all our efforts, the clothes were always handed over to Hannah, the family's helper, to wash them properly. Mama was not teaching us to wash. She was teaching us responsibility. In her early days of parenting, as the designated disciplinarian in the family, Sylvia occasionally felt it necessary to rule with an iron hand, according to the customs of the place and time.
I had a mother that would throw a shoe at you at the drop of a dime. My mother was like Clint Eastwood with a shoe. Why'd you eat the ice cream off the floor? I didn't know ice cream.
But Sylvia knew how to balance discipline with nurture, and thus she cloaked us in a beautiful tapestry woven of unwavering support, challenges designed to inspire growth, and love tailored to bound us together, to protect us, and to remind us that every individual deserves care, support, and a voice. Mama nurtured our potential. She fueled our ambitions and supported us as we worked towards our goals. For everyone, there was a special touch. She was the architect of our dreams. Very dedicated to her kids and to others, Sylvia still demonstrated the wisdom to know that you can't win them all. Even with all the love, guidance, and support given, the final choice is up to the individual. She would say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. No Charge was one of Sylvia's and her daughter's favorite songs. It spoke of maternal love and forgiveness. Anyone who knew Sylvia knew that forgiveness was one of her hallmark character traits. Sylvia was dubbed Ma for All by her daughter Joy, and I say rightfully so, because it seemed that through the years so many people embraced this amazing lady as a source of maternal love and support. Sylvia was a favorite at the chronic care hospital where she worked with severely impaired patients. From her, patients always received the love, respect, and care that many were missing in their lives. That special care was extended to the nursing staff as well. When the nursing crisis hit the United States in the 1980s, Berdes Kohler, the hospital where Sylvia worked, became severely understaffed. Nurses were hired from the Philippines, where they had been trained with American accreditation for decades. These nurses were very young women who sacrificed their homeland and families to make good on the opportunity to earn, as they were being paid less than a janitor's wages in their country. Sylvia easily took the young nurses under her wing, offering them acceptance, the warmth of her home, and weekly family meals. Sylvia loved to set a pretty table, and she believed that all those precious and treasured china that she'd been gifted throughout the years should be used at every opportunity. The meals, the family time, and Sylvia's presence helped to keep the homesickness and culture shock at bay. In no time at all, Sylvia became Mama or Grandma, as the young ladies gratefully accepted her guidance and care. Sylvia would retain the titles and the honor, even as they married and had children of their own. The ladies remained close through the years, even after Sylvia's retirement and relocation to another state over a decade later. By the way, do you see this fellow here taking some of the ladies home on this occasion? That's Mitch. His mother, Daisy Owens, remember her? Was the godmother of Sylvia's firstborn and remained a mother figure to both Jasper and Sylvia until her death they did part. Well, Mitchie's brother, Tony Owens, is the reason why the musical youth also adopted Mama as a caretaker, embraced Jasper as a father figure, and passed time at Sylvia's home during their stay in New York. But that's a story for another time. Sorry, but that's all for now, folks. This is where part 1 ends. But please stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss what is coming in the next day or two. There is so much more to cover, and we can do that together. With so much more to explore, I'll keep coming back. Hope you'll join me and help me keep this channel going. Come on now, like and share with your community, your family and friends, so that they too can enjoy and be a part of all this discovery. Oh, and if you subscribe, you'll be notified of upcoming videos. And that's it. I really would love to hear what you think about this video. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below.
Hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off. Won't you stand up and take a bow?
Ilangoli, bend down low. Ilangoli, bend down low. Ilangoli, Ilangoli, bend down low. Ilangoli, take you bend down low. Ilangoli, Ilangoli rider, Ilangoli rider, Ilangoli rider. Ilangoli, take you bend down low. Ilangoli, take you bend down low. Ilangoli, if you go to the Jugana Hill. Ilangoli, if you go to the Jugana Hill. Ilangoli, if you go to the Jugana Hill. Ilangoli, oh Ilangoli, 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 Ilangoli.
On the Caribbean Sea, that's given more than its share of culture and music to humanity.
Well, thanks for watching all. And thank you so much for being a friend and for visiting Marie at the Ketchum House. Till next time.